¡Rápido, Alteza! Entregádmelo ya. La luna llena brilla en el cielo y podemos abrir el portal.
¿Qué lleváis en la mano?
El portal solo se abrirá si derramamos en él sangre inocente. Solo un poco de sangre. Un pinchazo tan solo. Es la última prueba. Vamos. Prometisteis obedecerme sin chistar. ¡Entregadme al niño!
¡No! Mi hermano se queda conmigo.
¿Sacrificaréis vuestro derecho sagrado por este mocoso al que apenas conocéis?
Sí, lo sacrifico.
¿Negaréis vuestra cuna por él? ¿Él por quien habéis sido humillada e ignorada?
Sí, la niego.
Hágase pues vuestra voluntad.
Sometimes I feel like a human sacrifice.
The touch of magic in this world obsessed with science.
Have you ever seen a portal?
I can feel this body dying all around me.
Nobody's done human sacrifice.
People have always done human sacrifice.
So, not seeing an entrance.
Yes, because it only appears after a human sacrifice.
Sometimes I feel like a human sacrifice.
Good evening, everyone.
Everybody. Good evening. Good evening. Hello, Shell. How you doing?
I am well.
Well, fine and
I've
dandy.
been putting up Christmas all weekend long.
Me too.
Me too, yeah.
That's right.
There's my
a-
Christmas trees
right.
that Ricky's wife made
Yeah.
a few years ago. See them over that way.
Not a
It's
miracle. So hard to do.
it's so
I'm like, it's over there.
like
there.
it's there.
I mean, for me, it actually is there, but it's actually over here because of the picture. There we go. Jeez, that's really
Yep.
annoying.
It is.
Hi, guys.
It's one of those messes with your brains things.
Whoa! Bruh. Guys, good evening. We are talking about a very cool episode, which I will get into very shortly. But I want to give some quick plugins and give you guys some quick announcements. Welcome back to the show, of course. This is still part
Hi,
of
we
the
missed
Portals
you.
saga. We've missed you. We have missed ourselves because we have not been able to record as thoroughly as we'd like to, but we're getting back on the
Yeah.
track now that the year's ended. Guys, we want to invite you. Please come out, support us, give us a like on all our stuff, whatever platform you're using. If it's on Facebook, if it's on Rumble, if it's on Spotify, or if it's just our stuff that you see online. If you listen to us, go every time you see us, please give us a like. Share anything that you think is share worthy. All that stuff is super helpful for us. It helps us grow.
Right.
We are a small channel and slowly making our headways, but
Yeah.
we're still a little bit small, and we're okay with that. We recognize that some of the stuff that we do is very different than what a lot of other podcasts are doing, and that's okay. I'm all right with that.
Right.
But there's a
We're
lot of stuff
us, not them.
That's right. We are us. We're not them. And so having said that, if you guys would like to support us financially, you can do so with a one-time kind of gift. If you want, head over to Patreon, give whatever you want. If you would like to do that, you can give as little as $1 if you want to do that. And you can give as much as $1 million if you want to. And then we can just stop working all together and just do this full time.
Right.
But if you guys would like to sign up for our monthly behind the paywall stuff, and on occasion we do have extra stuff that is behind the paywall. That might be the case today. We'll see. There's a lot to cover. And you guys always get episodes early, and little by little, we are working our way towards giving you guys more just completely behind the paywall kind of episodes. So that's only $3 a month. You can sign up on Patreon or on Spotify and get full access to that. You also get a discount in our store. Yes, we do have a store up and running now. If you don't remember, we have our lovely stickers. Go and check them out. Got our transhuman sticker.
They're
And then our
cool.
self-titled. Yeah, they're all fancy, fancy. And Shell doesn't know about what I'm about to tell you guys. But
or oh boy,
drum roll, please. And I need to install a drum roll on this guy.
Do we not have one in our buttons?
I don't.
Bummer.
But I want to tell you, a subscriber and friend of ours, Shell, has told me, I didn't know why, I don't know why I didn't think of it. He recently started working with a, like, I don't know if they're worldwide, but they are nationwide shipping t-shirt company. They make t-shirts. And he's like, dude, just send me the design you want and we'll, get it working. We'll get it going. I was like, all right, well, let's freaking do it. Great.
Nice.
We do have we have one t-shirt design in particular. We have a mascot that we were actually, I was going to ask for some feedback, but I'm not going to reveal him quite yet, but you guys will get a glimpse at him. Hopefully before the end of the year, I have something fully ready to go. So you guys will have a design that you'll be able to see, but we'll give you guys the name. And I think that Shelley's name was great. It's Eli, the CTDW guy. And you're going to be like, what?
Eli, the CTDW
Yes.
guy. He's real cool, actually.
Cool. We were going to call him Sagey guy. That's what I was going with, but I liked Eli. It's, it's got that like Book of Eli vibe going and everything. That's what came to mind. But he's going to be our new mascot. I was like, why don't we have a mascot? Wasn't CTDW just a bunch of freaking acronyms? Like, what's going on here? We need an actual character, or people that they're watching like the Prometheus lens. Well, it's Prometheus, right? Or the Dig Bible. Okay, well, they got the shovel. I'm like, well, what do we got? The dark web? I don't want the dark web.
No, really, we don't want the dark web.
So
we're bringing illumination. We're bringing light to the dark places.
Yes, well, not the dark web particular, but hopefully, maybe if we get banned completely and totally, then that's where we will be regulated to.
Oh man, that is not a life goal for me, Rick.
Me either. But it's actually known as the deep web, if we're being honest. Dark web.
It is
much more nefarious things. Anyway, I like our name. I'm not changing it. We're sticking to our guns. But anyway, having said that, just want to get that stuff out of the way and let you guys know that there's some stuff on the horizon. Don't forget, if you are not a subscriber, I will absolutely have some content coming back from Mexico that you will obviously get early access to, but you will also have some behind the paywall stuff. If I can, please pray that I can go and talk to a pastor friend that I would really like to interview. He is the pastor of a metal church. And frankly, he is part of a huge movement called, what is the Bible? The Subterranean Bible would be the translation in English. They just have a bunch of testimonies from metalheads and punk rockers and just, alternative type individuals in a Bible that they like put in this Bible and started passing them out at like the underground markets and shows. They just set up a booth and they just share the gospel. Frankly, it's freaking awesome. And this guy has had ins because he's been around for a long time, and so people are at a point where they actually trust him now. When you go into a huge community where there's lots of witchcraft and lots of paganism, people are not super friendly towards Christians usually, for a lot of reasons, right? But he has gained.
I think that's so foreign to Americans.
What is?
The widespread
witchcraft
power of witchcraft in Mexico.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. All those patron saints were repatriated. They were gods that are repatriated. I mean, that's
absolutely
that's what they are. And my wife, I constantly ask her, I'm like, why do you think that there's, Mexico's in the state it is? She's, because we worship so many saints. She's like, we worship everything in my country. Like everything's worship. Like, yeah, well, that'll do it. So anyway, having said that, guys, be sure if you're not signed up, you're going to want to be coming next year because I'm going to have some cool content coming out. I am going to visit the largest landmass pyramid on the earth in Cholula, Mexico. And going to be hanging out with my brother-in-law. I'm hoping to get some feedback from him, and man, maybe we can get some other stuff going while I'm down there. But I'm shooting for two things. I would love to go visit the regular pyramids, but my family's seen them a bajillion times, so they're like, "Are we gonna go see the pyramids again?" You know, I've been there like 3 or 4 times.
That's so
already,
funny, like to be jaded about pyramids.
I mean, it's like living on the beach. You're like, yeah, I mean, it's the beach, dude. It's always there. You know, it's not going anywhere. But for us, we're like, dude, it's a freaking beach. I never see the beach.
Right.
So anyway,
That culminates in water.
whoa, there's some serious, crazy, sacred stuff going on, bro. Okay, so let's jump right on this, shall we, Shell?
One of us has given up caffeine and one of us has not.
I
Figure
don't
out
have
who
any
is who.
caffeine at all.
I quit coffee about 10 days ago. It's all right. I'm still drinking some tea. Not as much caffeine and not as much tea, but
No, I haven't had any caffeine in at least, I mean, literally zero caffeine in like at least a month, at least.
wow.
But I mean, I don't really drink other than coffee. I didn't really drink any caffeine. I quit sodas forever ago. So,
Yeah, it's very seldom that I have a soda. I have a soda like a European does, not like an American does.
That's good. That's good. What about our northern neighbors from Kanukistan? Is it Tyler? Was that his name? Tyler told me. I went to go. I was like, Kanukistan, what is that? And I had to go look it up. I was like, I'm going to sound like an ignorant American. And I was like, oh, it's slang for Canada. Okay, well, then I don't feel so dumb. Like, Kanukistan. That's my favorite thing this week. I'm not gonna lie. Or from last week.
That was a fun survey, man.
Yeah. If you haven't kind of tell us where you're from, go on Facebook and tell us where you're from. All right. So today, guys, we're talking about a pretty crazy subject. It's I will give you guys some fair warning. This is a fairly adult topic. And there is some stuff that is
friendly,
maybe not X-rated, but definitely rated R. So hide your kids, hide your wife, hide your kids, hide your wife, hide your kids, hide your wife, and hide your husband, because they're raping everybody out here. You have been warned. You have been warned. Hide your kids, hide your wife. Well, don't hide your wife unless she watches the podcast and she. That's cool. Don't hide her from that, but. Your kids definitely don't want to hear this one. Shell, would you like to elaborate on how we came to this place, or I guess kind of how I came to this place, or would you like me to go into it?
I think you go into it.
Okay. All right. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give like the layout, and are you gonna piggyback off of, or just kind of like back and forth? Oh, yeah. Right on. Well, sweet. Here we go. I'm going to run this bad boy.
Because we never do anything like that and can't have a conversation or anything.
I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, it's mad. What? Now then, we're off to a serious start. Guys, we're talking about as you know, we're talking about portals. We're still in the portal saga. And this actually, I don't know if this is what kind of got us down this trail in the first place, or if we had been talking about some other stuff, but this kind of just came up. But we were talking about the body. And the more I've studied, I think that the body can be a portal.
Oh,
but
definitely.
I also think that the body is a ritualistic tool for portal opening. And that is what we're talking about. We are talking about the human body today as a portal, or a portal facilitator, I guess we'll call it.
I think you would just say key.
Yeah, that's right. That's fair. Key's good. I mean, I just feel like there's a lot of activation. There's a thought of things that we can do with our body and from our body that are activation keys. That's a good way to say it. So obviously, guys, I mean, I'm not really, this was very cool. When I started talking to Shell about it, Shell was like, I've never heard anyone talk about this. And I really feel like this is kind of one of those things where God just kind of like downloaded it into my brain. It's not really something you don't know, but it is at the same time. When you start thinking about it in these terms, I think for me, what it did was it shifted my brain and how I thought about living out my faith and living out everything I do, frankly. I mean, and I think Shell's probably on the very same page as I am with that. So obviously, I mean, it's no secret, right? Our bodies, for the large part, are material for the most part. You know, they are flesh and bone. You can touch them. There's blood on the inside, right? Hopefully not on the outside. You don't want it there. It has to happen sometimes, but you know, that's not the preference. So we're going to kind of go right to the nitty gritty right from the get-go. And this is kind of what got me, like, my brain spiraling down this kind of rabbit hole, for lack of a better word. What can we do with our bodies? We can procreate. We can have sex. We can enjoy ourselves in many physical ways, not just sexual, but sexual is a huge part of it. And we're going to start here because this really kind of, man, this is like the focal point, and I would say largely kind of what we're centering this whole idea around. So sex itself, what is sex, right? What does God put it here for? Obviously it's for pleasure. I mean, that's no
right
brainer. Obviously it's for procreation, right, as well, for us to further our species. But let's put a pin in that real quick. God said to Noah and to Adam and Eve, and actually, frankly, to the disciples in a very different context, but kind of not, to go forth and be fruitful and multiply. And that is only a thing that humans and animals, frankly, can do, right? And animals have a very limited sense of or level of sentience. At least most of them do. And or at least we don't, as far as we understand, right? Maybe there's a whole thing going on that we don't know about, which probably is true. But I would say being at least on Earth the pinnacle of creation, and I'm being very specific about on Earth, man, God has really given us domain over this earth, right? That was the whole point. And so to be able to dominate a planet, you need to multiply, you need to have more, you need to replicate, you need to have more of you to be able to do that job. Well, how does that happen? I mean, obviously I can physically tell you what happened. You know, the man's seed and the woman's egg are, you know, they mix and they become a completely new organism, right? But what actually is happening there? Like, what does that mean? What it literally means is that this new creation pulls a soul out of heaven, is sent into a human body, and is housed there, at least temporarily. So, by definition, sex for procreation makes the body a portal. I mean, it literally makes the body a portal, which is kind of mind-blowing, frankly.
Procreation is the utilization of a portal.
It totally is. And
bringing somebody from the spirit realm,
the unseen realm to the seen one,
to this realm.
It's very important to think about this, right? Because I hadn't thought about this a whole lot, but my pastor mentioned it, and he says, you know, when we die, we're going home. He goes, listen to what I said. Listen very carefully to what I said. We're going back home when we go back to heaven. And I went, oh, well, yeah, obviously. Yeah, that makes perfect sense, right? Although we have no recollection or understanding or conscious thought of our
remembrance
life,
of whatever it was before.
this, right? We are going home, you know? It says that we were beautifully and wonderfully made, which actually opens a whole other idea. Like, okay, yes, we're going home, but when were we made? Were we made? Were we made without just no knowledge of our existence? I don't know. You know, I don't. That's not a question I can answer. But what I can answer is that where we came from, we will return. That is the goal anyway. If you choose to be the creator, of course.
Right.
So the body is a portal, and sex itself and using the body in a sexual way is intentionally an activation key. I like the way I like the terminology that you used around that. I think it's absolutely fascinating to me. So this is both a spiritual act and a ritualistic act. And this other thing that I was thinking about, not just the body, but, you know, common artifacts and things like that we don't really. So here's the thing. I guess let me get to my point. When we think about a portal, we think about some sort of ethereal dimension, you know, reality transcending portal.
Stargate, right?
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Something mystical. Yeah.
That's the word I'm looking for. Mystical. We don't think of it as a physical thing. And I started thinking, well, and we'll get to those. Stargates are a thing, right? Okay. Well, what are stargates made of? You know, I don't know exactly. I'm not going to pretend to know right now. We're going to do some further research and get back to you guys on that. But we've been very clear that mountains are portals. I mean, they very clearly are. Mount Hermon is the one that you have the clearest example of, right?
Right. Well, and Sinai.
And Sinai, of course, absolutely, Sinai, right? But I mean, we've talked at length that there are many sacred mountains all over the world. We talked about China at great length, that China has many sacred mountains. Wuishan is a super sacred mountain to them, and all sorts of stuff, right? I mean, so
and whether they're man-made or natural too,
correct,
because the ziggurats and pyramids are man-made mountains.
Absolutely. And it's important to kind of decouple. I don't know if destigmatize, but well, yeah, maybe to an extent destigmatize and decouple the concept that physical things are not properties of portals, because they are.
Right.
That almost by definition, you need things to be physical for them to be portals, at least on some degree, right?
Well, at least in our part of the realms.
Right.
Because we're material. So, correct. And our bodies are material. You know, whatever the electrical impulses that cause our body to run maybe aren't totally material. I mean, electricity, I don't know how I would classify that really. Yeah. But
Kelsey.
Right.
My sister's a chemical engineer, guys. She's a smart
person. She's really freaking smart, actually. But
alcoholic as well.
That's why we love her so much.
Korean Hatsu. Okay.
She's my best friend.
Yeah.
But even in our most material part of us, our body, there is still something ethereal in it. You know, the whole premise of Frankenstein or what else was it called? Prometheus. I forget the whole long name of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, but it's a quest for understanding the ethereal part of us that makes us alive.
Yeah. Yep. That's all of that is absolutely accurate. Which actually that Frankenstein's monster, gosh, you just made me think of Blaster the Rocket Man again. Um, he's sitting up there looking at me. Hey, Blaster, what's going on? Guys, if you've not looked up Blaster the Rocket Man, I don't know what to tell you. You need to go look at it. You need to go listen to it. You'll be like, what the crap is this? But read the lyrics. Read the lyrics, and you'll be like, holy moly, this is some legit theology. I'll just leave it at that. So that takes me to a segue to our next point, and this is a big one. You and I, are not our bodies.
Right.
We are not our bodies. We inhabit a body, but we are spirit and soul. You almost might call them inextricably linked. That is a hard thing to think about, right? I'd heard people say before, you're not Ricky. Ricky is just a name that you have, but you are.
You are driving Ricky, the vehicle, exactly. Ricky.
That's right. Right. So the body that you have is literally a tool for ritualistic practice, for ceremonial practice. And before you get all weird on me and be like, what the heck, dude? What are you talking about? Everything that we do with this body allows us to worship God or not worship God or worship some other God. But whatever we do with our body, it is ritualistic practice. It is spiritual worship practice. And it is certainly the vehicle that allows us, right, to be able to worship and do these ritualistic things and all the things we do. But nonetheless, our bodies, literally, though they are not ours, they are just given to us for a temporary period. They are the vehicle with which we are able to worship God. And I'm going to give you guys some legit backing for this. We're going to 1 Corinthians 6 here. Let me pull this guy up real quick. Let's share the whole screen, which is going to make you guys see everything crazy. I'm getting another monitor soon, guys. Be patient with me. I just have to fix my studio here. Bam. There we go. Cool. You see that okay?
Mm-hmm.
Staying with the sexual theme, flee from sexual immorality, okay? So we're going to break down some specific verses. Verse 13 says, food is meant for the stomach and the stomach for food. God will destroy both one and the other. The body is not meant for sexual immorality, but for the Lord, and the Lord for the body. Notice how the body is a thing that is meant for things, but the body is not referred to as the human. It is not referred to as the soul. There's very specific language around this, which is what really caught my attention here. So I'm going to reread this a different way, and I literally have this in my notes. You can kind of follow along paraphrasing here. The body, in parentheses, which is not you, but the manipulation of it affects you, is not for sexual immorality, but for the Lord, and the Lord for the body. Let's go a little bit further. Verse 15. Do you not know that your bodies are members of Christ? Shall I then take the members of Christ and make them members of a prostitute? Never. Again, your body is not your own. Your bodies are members of Christ. Think about that for a second. Think about that real hard for a second. What the heck does that mean? It means that your body is not you, but it is important what you do with your body. And that is kind of a very bizarre thought. So I'm not saying, before you guys get all, any of you guys might jump into a conclusion being like, oh, this is totally like a Gnostic teaching. No. I'm not saying that all physical things are bad. On the contrary, I'm saying that physical things are good. And our bodies are good. They are a glorious creation that God has given us to inhabit and use. But also they can be filled with things, right? They can be filled with God. They can be filled with the Holy Spirit. They can be filled with demons.
They're like
angels. Go ahead.
If our bodies are a tool, then like every other tool, they can be used for good or for bad,
Absolutely.
And there are things we do with our body that are glorifying to God, and there are things we can do with our bodies that are
hideous,
not glorifying.
Yeah. Exactly right. Let me read verse 16. I got 2 more verses here in Corinthians that we're going to finish reading. So 16 says, "Or do you not know that he who is joined to a prostitute becomes one with her? For, as it is written, the two will become one flesh." Now, notice this. This is important, right? Because you might say here, "Oh, well, but look, you're united with her." Yeah, you are united with her because she inhabits her body, right? And that's why the two become one flesh. That is a crazy, crazy concept to me. And the reason that this is so important to God, why does God say this? Well, because one, like God uses the marriage itself as a unit for, what would we call it? The smallest society that can exist, right? The smallest functioning society that can exist is the family unit. But
Right.
also,
It's the original government.
absolutely, absolutely. Also, this is God knows that the intention of sexual intimacy is ultimately for the purpose of creation, right? Of procreation. So what you're doing is you are ritualistically practicing the opening of a portal. Whether you fulfill it or not is a different story, right? But God knows exactly what you're doing, and you're profaning a sacred thing. You're profaning literally a portal opening act. Whoa, that's pretty crazy.
Well, if you're having sex with somebody who is not your spouse.
Correct, exactly. So what does the word say, right? Flee from sexual immorality. Everything else uses the ritual, the body, the ritual instrument, to sin. But sexual sin is desecrating the sacred temple and the seat of one's own self. And I'm just kind of going off my own notes here. I believe this is because it opens us to other gods instead of God being for the body. And because the body is a temple of the Holy Spirit, right? So when we begin to open our bodies to sexual immorality and sexually inappropriate or illicit things, what we leave our body open to some sort of other, goodness, what would we call it? Spiritual portal activation. I think you'll agree with me on this one, Shell. We didn't really talk about this per se, but I would say if you are having inappropriate sexual relations, what you're actually doing is using your body to open a portal, literally, to other gods, for lack of a better word, right? I mean,
Well, you're opening your front door, period. So you're not sure what's gonna, come in. It's like you open your front door and you
no
go
pun
to
intended.
bed.
No pun intended.
Yeah,
There, folks.
not
We're all
using euphemisms here, but
yeah.
just man, I'm not sure
It's a
where I
curious.
want to go with this. I have always been taught, and I really do believe it, that you can pick up people's spirits by having sex with them.
Yeah. Yeah. I know there's a
Somebody's
lot of
got
pushback against that.
demons. Is there, man? It's really
There is,
been
but
what I've taught, and I don't know. I'm not saying that you will,
sure.
but you certainly do open yourself up to the possibility of it. And there are ministries, and I'm not exactly sure where I stand, but deliverance ministries frequently will be like, you need to repent for every sexual encounter you've ever had, and anything that may, be
Tied to that.
catching a ride with you because
Right.
of it. Yeah, and I'm just like, I think there's validity to that. I don't think you have to remember every single thing you've ever done, because most of us just cannot. And honestly, because that doesn't bear out with what we're told in the Old Testament as far as sacrifices um, for willful sin and for uh, sin that you didn't realize you were committing at the time.
I see.
So
I see what you're saying. Not sure if you're ascribed to it.
Yeah, no, not for the have to remember every single sin you have ever committed, because the blood of Jesus cleanses from all sin. And I don't know that I think that you have to search it every time, oh, something's going on with me. Oh, must be that one sin I did in 1972 that I, forgot about. Really? Because Christ went and died on the cross for every sin but that one. We're just not necessarily going to remember every sin. And, some people are probably thinking, oh, but you remember everybody you've ever slept with. And, some of us may and some of us may not. The grace of God is that he gives it freely to all who would come. Bless his holy name. But however, if you have things going on in your life, I mean, it's something to go and think about. I have definitely, prayed before, Lord, forgive me for all the stupid things I've done, and the different relationships that I had, the I guess use the nice euphemism of the wild oats I have sown. And I think, God is faithful to do it. He says it, but you know what? I haven't been like, and then this one on January, and this one on January 12th, and then this one, I don't know. I don't think God nitpicks like that.
I think it. I'm not 100% sure how I feel about it either, but I think that
if God calls it to your memory,
right,
though, then yeah, if he like brings
it's
something to
to
me
deal
and
with.
I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry, Lord.
Right.
Please forgive me for that. I know you have, but I'm specifically sorry for this thing right now that I've just remembered,
Yeah.
So I'm not saying you're stuck with in my circle we would just call them bugs. Ooh, you got bugs from meaning unclean spirits in particular. But
I thought you were talking about cooties.
no, bugs.
Got it.
Just a nice way of not saying demons,
This and just to drive the point home about this here, I just wanted to look at verse 20. You were bought with a price, so glorified in your body. There's another translation that says with your body. So if it's not clear, you are not your body. But the way you use it has eternal implications.
Ramification, yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
And ramifications.
We're gonna things we have done before salvation are different too than things that we do after accepting Christ's gift.
Yeah.
When we accept his grace and we repent, then we don't want to keep going back to that same thing. And sometimes, sometimes there are strongholds. There's
certainly.
What is that word?
Right before this podcast, all about this, man. At length.
Yeah, there you have there are people who have addictions, and there's most definitely any way, how do I want to say this? Any way you can defile yourself can be addictive. Whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, gluttony, whatever. I'm sure there are other things. I just can't think of them.
There's nothing else. That's it.
All of those things can become addictive. They can control you, and God can also break them. There's nothing that is too hard for him to do. There is no stronghold that is too strong for him that he cannot break down. But sexual sin is a difficult one.
Yeah, very difficult. Is it?
I just think of the statistics of porn in church.
Yeah.
Like is more than 70% of pastors have acknowledged having issues with it. And I mean there's a instance going on right now, with IHOP KC,
Yeah.
and it kills me. Another pastor has fallen, but it's so common in men in leadership, probably women in leadership. Women just haven't had leadership opportunity, over the last millennia the way men have. So we have a lot more data of men being
Right.
caught in infidelities or straight up uh, sin, sexual sin.
Yep.
I think of David. I think of Samson. I think of Solomon.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Few.
These are men who were godly. David is a man after God's own heart, and sometimes I'm just like, wow, okay.
That qualifies, huh?
But I
That's
get it.
okay.
He loved God. He loves God. Um, despite his predilection, well, because he's in God's presence
Yep.
today.
Agreed.
He's loving God.
Although I would say the restraining adherence to simple-minded and small dimensions that we inhabit, also known as time, are probably irrelevant to David right now. So,
Right. Yeah.
for
I'm
us, yes, he
sure.
does love him.
But I mean, he had multiple wives to begin with,
Mhm.
and then taking Bathsheba, and then the whole trying to kill Uriah, right? That's her husband's name. And just all of that, you kind of go, how did God use that? Not only that, how is a descendant of his going to be on the throne forever? And
Yeah.
but Jesus is
Grace.
the son of David, and it's just, I don't know. That's crazy, man. It's crazy on so many levels, because you're like, oof, what a big mess up. And then is it not a big mess up? And I think it is, but that God understands humanity. He understands that that we can be very subject to our appetites. And I chose the word appetite very
Deliberately.
yeah, because our appetites can take all sorts of forms, whether it's our eyes, or whether it's our mouth, whether it's our body. We choose to feed our appetites, and the dog we feed the most is the one who's going to win the fight.
Yep.
So
and
careful what you feed.
Yeah. I mean, geez, man, there's so many rabbit holes to go down here right now. I mean, even if we just stayed on the sexual aspect of the use of the body, I mean, we could finish this whole podcast talking about that. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, and you know what? There's something actually I wanted to interject about that too, Rick. Sorry.
Go for it. No, do it.
Um, y- uh, Sex was designed for procreation, but I think sex also was equally as designed for um, coming together between a husband and a wife. Um, it smooths out the rough edges. I don't, that is the nicest way I can say what
Uh,
I'm saying. It makes you like each other more.
you don't say.
It has a very relational function, and when uh, couples aren't when they go quite a while without sex,
Mhm.
you see it. You see it in the way
Mhm.
a husband and a wife start
Yeah.
biting at one another.
I mean,
It's almost, love covers over a multitude of sins. Well, within marriage, so does sex.
yeah, it does. Makeup sex is great. Not gonna lie. Um, so I guess from here, I mean, just talking about the body itself, and this is such a deep topic. It really is. I was literally telling Shell, and I mean this very seriously. Like, I'm really considering writing a book about this because, I mean, your body involves everything you do. And insofar as a portal, right? It being a portal and a portal activator. Sure, I mean, yeah, all that's true, but I mean, your body literally is like the way you commune with God. It's the way you commune with reality, frankly.
Well, because that's how he
It's the way you
created us
interface. That's
too.
the word I'm looking for. What's that?
Yeah, that's a very good descriptor. It's how God made us.
Yeah.
We are spirit. We are spirit
Mhm.
or soul. Um, that inhabits a body, but he chose to make it so that we inhabit a body, and that's when I don't know. From our point of view, when we get our sentience, right? When we
Mhm. Yeah.
um
Yeah, exactly. Which is what I was alluding to right previously.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't think anybody else does either. What is before
Crazy
we're
topic.
born?
Yeah.
No, we'll find out eventually.
Yeah.
Uh,
Or maybe we just won't because we won't ever understand it. Um, so I wanted to say we're going to kind of step into the opposite here in a second, and how the use of the body as a portal can be so grievously misused. Um, and so I guess where I want to start is just around the idea that it's important from us, like from this point forward, for us to think about the fact that the the body physical things are not divorced from spiritual things.
right.
Okay, that is a very
Such a
important
good point.
concept to take going into what we're just about to talk about. And this, have you ever had a thought and you just the thing, but then like you sit and meditate on it and you're like, oh man, there's so much more here than I really was able. Like I wasn't really grappling with this idea. I
Yeah.
understand the idea, but I wasn't grappling with it, and that's kind of how this was for me. So I'm going to mention it again. Physical and spiritual things, we don't have any reason to separate them because
One
what
does
we
not
live.
necessarily supersede the other, at least not while we're alive either.
No. I mean, this is the place where God gave us to play out the use of worship and ritual action here on this earth in this plane with this thing that's a tool called the body. So, having said that, let's move forward. Now then, uh, so because we know that that having sex is for procreation as well as for pleasure and for a multitude of other things, right? That it really is for um, a plethora of things I can't completely express because there's just too many. I really think that this seems the likely reason that witchcraft usually involves some sort of sexual action, right? And I'm going to explain why, because geez, I don't know if I jump right into this one or if it's almost like this is like a big old ball of stuff, and I don't know which one to pull apart first. Just like you and I desire to procreate, the angels that have fallen, the Benai, how is it? Benai Ha Elohim.
B'nai Ha-Elohim.
Benai, thank you. Benai Ha Elohim.
B'nai Ha-Elohim.
The sons of God that have fallen also desired, if not all of them, good chunk of them desired also to be one flesh, so to speak. Okay. That's weird because they're not really flesh, like we've discussed at length, and which you guys I'm sure know. So it's not like something I'm springing on you. But I think that's why witchcraft continues to be such a sex itself tends to be such a such an explicit idea in our minds, even though sex is extremely wholesome when practiced, just like it was intended to be. There are rituals and there are steps and there are purposes for sex, right? And there are non-purposes for sex. And I think that those are specifically sought out by Elohimic beings, right? And their offspring, because they are the thing that they don't have access to, right? I mean, that's why the sons of God
They were not created for it. That was not part of their natural order. It is part of our natural order.
It is, exactly. Which is, that you should just be like in awe of God for, like, that we were created as the pinnacle of creation on this plane to reproduce. And the sons of God were not. They were not made for that. Heavenly beings were not made to reproduce. Doesn't mean that they can't, or that they can't. It doesn't mean that they can't, but it certainly does not mean that that's their intention.
Right.
So I think that that's a lot of the reason that we see sexually explicit uses of things and rituals and stuff like that in witchcraft, because, right, we can manipulate things with our bodies, but also the other guys seek to use our bodies for all sorts of stuff. So it's kind of a win-win in a weird, twisted way of thinking about it. At least that's the way the interaction is viewed between the two interfacers, right? On the unseen and the seen realm. Going back to this idea about the spiritual and physical not being different. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of a lady whose name is Mariana Ambromavić. And have you ever guys heard of spirit cooking? I don't recommend you go look it up. If you feel so inclined and you want to, you are welcome to do so. But she is a performance artist out of Ukraine, nonetheless.
Didn't she have something to do with Anton LaVey?
I think she did at some point. But it wasn't, she's not like a practicing Satanist or any of that kind of stuff. She doesn't openly practice Satanism, and she doesn't openly practice witchcraft. She's really just a performance artist. Which is I guess an ambivalent way of saying shock and awe type of individual. I mean, that's really what performance art is, right? But she would do very like just kind of grotesque performance art. Like she would just be naked in the middle of an art gallery, and she would just say, "Do whatever you want to me." And some people would just go and hit her, and they would, attack her, and she would just sit there and she would just take it, very, very weird individual. Well, she did have a particular, I don't even know if I can call it art. I mean, I would just say it's just kind of a desecration of all things living, in my humble opinion, that she did, called spirit cooking. And she says it was meant to be a joke. And this could, really, I could veer off on this for a whole long while and go into like secret societies and celebrities and weird child loving aspects of things. But I'm not going to try and go too far down that rabbit hole. You guys can look this stuff up if you want to. We can do that episode on another episode, not this one. But there's a reason that I'm going towards this, okay? In her video, in this video called Spirit Cooking, she essentially took mainly, well, I'll read her own word. She was at what she called the Podesta's Spirit Cooking Dinner. If you recognize that last name, that should more than give you some indicators about her kind of company and ideas. But she basically had a mixture, and she says, it's not what you think. It's blood, sperm, and breast milk, but mostly blood. And it was pig's blood. And she wrote all sorts of just kind of creepy stuff in pig's blood, sperm, and breast milk on the wall, basically in blood. You can go look up the phrases you want and this and that. But my point in mentioning this here is that she is very explicit about mentioning, and she's not the only one. I mean, there's other people who do this kind of stuff, so I'm not, trying to single her out in particular. But my point in mentioning is that she, in her mind, is divorcing any kind of spiritual reality from the physical actions that she is exercising, let's say. And that ain't the way it works. I'm not going to lie. I think that she is very aware of the things that she's doing, even though she would purport to never, ever have that be the case. At least, in interviews and stuff like that. But people that do those kind of things, I think that they are either extremely daft when they make comments like that, or they're just extremely dishonest. And I usually think, given this day and age, I think it's very just dishonest. I don't even think that it's daftness anymore. Like, I think that people give too many people the benefit of the doubt. That's my personal opinion. But in any case, we can't divorce our actions from the spiritual nature of things.
Right.
I mean, to some extent, sure, you can do art and it can be, I don't know, satirical or sarcastic, or you can use certain things, even as Christians, for shock and awe, right, that you normally wouldn't do or say. But I think that there's a point where you really have to be honest with yourself and with God. Like, what am I doing? What am I doing with my body? What am I doing with my time? Because whether or not you look at it this way or not, she's taking these sacred elements and making very, very light of them. And I would almost say, for lack of a better word, I would even say that that's witchcraft by definition, because she's manipulating people into thinking that it's not a big deal. It's just a thing. It's just a thing. It's just performance art. I'm just doing performance art.
Whatever. That's like being a jerk and saying, I'm just kidding.
Correct.
Like, it's exactly what it is. I'm just kidding. Also, that kind of language, what it says is, I want to do what I want and I don't want to suffer any ramifications.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's just art, like, holds no water with me. None.
Yeah, no.
None.
No, me either. We're humans, and we are very intentional with what we do. You can go look her up. She is part of the lovely individuals. Oh, now you know. That explains your your contorted
the looks on my face.
Yeah,
I know. I was just like, oh.
Yeah, she's someone you need to pray for, guys. Honestly. So having said that, I'm just trying to set a little bit of a base and now kind of leap into where we're going with why the body and physical things open portals and are important. So I ran across, I was literally just looking up, what was that article called? I literally was like, okay, bodily fluids and magic. I was like, is that a thing? I wonder if that's a thing. It sounds like a thing. And I ran across it, and I mean, it's something that like I intuitively am like, yeah, it's a thing, but like I want to be able to present something to you guys. It's like,
Well, right, especially like blood. You're like, oh yeah, human blood or any kind of bloodletting in witchcraft is, well known.
yeah, certainly. So I ran across this this article. I'll have to post it here in a little bit, but this is by an individual that practices rituals and magic, on the regular. And I just entitled it Bodily Fluids as Binding Elements, which I thought was very, very interesting. Personal items, that is bodily fluids in this case, included in a spell included in spell work and magical working, sometimes known as tokens or as taglocks. You never heard that before, right? They are used because of their connection to that person's spirit. Notice the language in this individual's speech. I think that it is so telling that this warlock or witch, whatever you want to call this individual,
Practitioner,
yes, magic practitioner, is able to identify that the body and the spirit are linked, although they are different. And Christians, we talk, yes, the spirit, the soul, the mind, but I don't think that we think that they're different, but they all work together as a unit. I don't think we think about this very much, and it's something we really need to think about.
Yeah.
I think that's why we don't take, a lot of times we don't take the sins that we do, or the actions that we do, even if they're not intentionally sinful, we don't take them with the weight that they should be taken. And when I read this, I was like, man, this is so, I mean, to me, it was very, do I want to say humbling? It was very insightful. I don't know what else to say. I think that's kind of where I'm coming from. So they use these bodily fluids in connection with the understanding of the body and the spirit being inextricably linked, and one affecting the other. That's what I'm going for, right?
Well, and that's what they said. This material thing from the person is giving the practitioner power over the person's spirit.
Correct, man. Yeah, so that was just going, and there's also yeah, just what you said, Shell. The caster uses it as a way to enhance their power. Their Curios is connected to that. Let me look up that definition. Do you know that word, Shell, by the way?
Curios?
Yeah.
I mean, I do, but not in a cult fashion. A Curios is just a thing that's attached. Yeah, it's
well, in this
weird to use it there. So
yeah. Well, I mean, in the article, that's how this individual used it, which was, I was like, huh. I mean, I was like, I feel like I know what that sort of means.
Yeah, I mean, trinket was a pretty good synonym.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty, yeah, a rare, unusual, or intriguing object. Well, in this case, when magical practitioners are talking about a Curios, what they mean is something that has kind of rare identifying power with you, right? So,
well, I mean, any of your fluids are going to, because they all contain your DNA.
Yeah, I mean, just like your hair follicles or which voodoo is practiced with, or fingernails, all that kind of stuff. And so that gives a practitioner power with, and this is very interesting. Practitioners using these kind of Curios, we'll just leave them titled that way. I think it's a pretty good title. Not only give power, but they give power over that individual's spirit, but also any other spirits that they're working with. I thought that was such a curious way to phrase that. I was like,
that's
wow.
A lie.
I mean,
a lie. It doesn't give them power over the other spirits that they are working with. They think it does.
Right. Well, it gives them what they perceive to be power. I was thinking, why is that a lie? Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes, that is definitely a lie.
Until it doesn't.
Right.
Until they're like, oh, you thought that had me chained? Yeah,
Until they're
no,
like,
here.
give me the comeuppance, brother.
Yep.
So
It's time to pay that piper.
I thought this was super interesting too, because the article kind of goes through that, and then so funny to me, man. But it just it really just kept hearkening back to how well pagans understand the relationship between the body and the spirit, and I feel like we as Christians just really don't. This individual was like, says, just as it has been possible to develop safe handling practices in the world of the medical field, it is also possible to develop rigorous safety procedures for the use of bodily fluids in magic. Why does that phrase seem oddly logical, and Christians are like afraid to grapple with that? Do you see what I'm saying?
Well, because we have taken so much of the supernatural out of our faith.
Yeah.
We're extremely materialistic.
Yeah.
Probably the most, I'm sure, not even probably, we are the most materialistic Christians ever. So far.
God bless us.
And our pointy little heads.
Boink boink. Having said that, hopefully you're not getting bored yet, Shell. Going on to, I was just kind of curious about this thought, and I just kind of wanted to see how much it would play out. And geez Louise, it has played out a lot. I started looking up human sacrifice, right? Because that's, I don't know what else could be used to open a portal except for human sacrifice. I mean, that seems like a pretty big way to open a door to a portal. Would you agree? I mean, it's in every movie you can think of. It's in so many ancient texts that I couldn't even begin to count how many.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to, I was reading a really good book that was just about human sacrifice in general, and it was talking about both.
Did you hear yourself?
I sure did.
I was reading a really good book about human sacrifice.
Hey man, you gotta read what piques your interest.
Boy, you're just digging a hole.
I know. Well, when you're talking about human sacrifices, I guess you have to dig a hole. I was reading this really great book. Informative. Let's go with that word. And it's called, let's see here. Let me find the name of it. Dictionary of Daily Life in Biblical and Post-Biblical Antiquity. And it's specifically about human sacrifice. So it was extremely informative.
All of the book is, or
no,
this
just
particular part?
I think I picked out like either like an excerpt or an essay or something. And it was just really going through, historical backgrounds and stuff about this.
Sounds interesting.
It was very interesting. And I found it at the library, my local library. It's like, oh, cool. Hoopla's useful. Yay.
Right.
So I picked it up and just started reading. I was like, oh, this seems really interesting. And there are a few things that I'll just touch on, but there's some really interesting, and hopefully you'll be able to chime in. And because I was thinking, like, what did the practitioners or what did these societies think was going to happen or see happen, right, when they did this kind of thing, right? I mean, I can think of off topic, off the cuff things like the Aztecs, right? The Aztecs would sacrifice virgin women for all sorts of reasons. One in particular is, my God, there's an eclipse that's terrifying. The sun represents life. We need the sun to come back. Let's kill this chick and bring it back.
Placate the gods, and
yes. Hopefully you'll accept this blood sacrifice, right? But I want you to chime in if you think of anything or there's something that comes to mind, because I was really asking myself this, and that's what I was trying to dig, and like, why did they, like, what were they hoping to achieve? Because we've all heard that before, but I don't think we really think about, like, well, what, and then we always hear that typical, well, this very educated, high-end kind of, these practitioners believed that when they were doing these things that the sun was being covered and they needed to appease this god. And I mean, they talk about it in such a freaking, I hate it, man. I hate
try
it.
to divorce our modern society from,
like, we're so enlightened.
Right.
When, like, I happen to remember 2-3 years ago that people didn't want us to get medical attention unless we got a particular thing.
Yeah, you better watch yourself there.
A thing. It's just a thing. I don't know what thing it was, but some people didn't want us to get medical attention unless we got a thing. So we are civilized, though. God bless us. We're so civilized.
Or we sure think we are.
Yes, we do. Anyway, coming back to this here. So there was all sorts of reasons, but children obviously would be sacrificed, which, I mean, just hearing that is just kind of mind-boggling to me. Like, I can't imagine living in a society where it was seen as a necessity to sacrifice your children, and especially
Wait a minute. You do. You live in a society that feels it is necessary to sacrifice your children.
It's true. I sure do.
For your own convenience and comfort.
Right. Yeah, well, I mean, words spoken and retracted within a few seconds. Jeez. Scratch that off the list. We're so civilized.
When I was reading your notes on the child sacrifice, all that I thought is, we've never quit. We do it just as much now. We just don't do it for the good of, like, the society. Like, they had their children walk through the fire to appease Molech. They at least thought they were doing something for their neighbors, instead of I got knocked up and I don't want to deal with the ramifications of this, so I'm going to go have a procedure done, which, is all the verbiage we use today, but it's the result is the same thing.
Yeah. And even more heinous, I think, is that it's just individualism to the extreme. Like, no one else matters. It's just the individual. That's such a lie, man. Yeah. Like, being able to express your individuality should allow you to function as a community, and not allow you to be an island. Like, that's not the point.
Well, you can't be an island.
Some people might disagree.
John Donne's Meditation 17, that most people refer to as No Man is an Island poem, I mean, is one of the best pieces of poetry ever written, because it reflects exactly how much we cannot stand alone. That if as John Donne says, if one grain of sand is washed into the sea, England be the less for it. And that's, we've really, really lost that ideology in the West. Like, so much. If people hear bells tolling, or that's what else they call it, for whom the bell tolls, but the actual name is Meditation 17. people don't even send to ask for whom the bells are tolling anymore, is they would ring bells when usually somebody prominent died, kind of like we do the flag at half staff or half mast, depending on which term you want to use. I know for us, if we don't know, beforehand that it's a holiday or that somebody significant has passed, we look at why is the flag at half staff today? That both my husband and I, that's just something we do. And that's what asking for whom the bell tolls, that's the equivalent. Oh, why are they ringing the bells today? Who has died? And what John Donne is saying is that it doesn't matter who the person who has passed is. I'm diminished. I am less today for their passing because they are part of mankind and I'm part of mankind. And if one of us is diminished, if one of us disappears, dies, then all of us are less for that. And it's this, the sentiment is, I think it nourishes humanity. That sentiment nourishes humanity. And when we don't have it, we truly, truly are diminished as a society because we're just a bunch of individuals who don't have anything bigger than ourselves to live for. And that's a horrible thing. That probably lends itself quite heavily to the increase in mental illness and in the hopelessness that plagues our society because we don't belong to something larger than ourselves, and we kind of suck on our own.
Not only is it a recipe for disaster, but I think it's an intent. I'm convinced it's an intentional recipe for disaster that
our enemies have foisted upon us. Most definitely, they have bought it. They have sold us this rotting corpse of an idea that I only need to look out for. Number one, just take care of myself.
I'm actually even thinking on a higher and longer plane than although I agree with you 100%. I'm thinking the Watchers, man. That's what I always think about that. These guys.
Oh yeah. Well, that's the enemies I was referring to.
Oh, good. Okay, we're on the same page. Divorcing. I mean, you start by divorcing spirituality from any kind of scientific investigation. Then you decouple it completely from God. Then you leave an empty society with nothing to hope in. And then you come
pull the individual away from the society.
Yeah.
And then also you've got as a bunch of little
anything.
Just push those dominoes right over.
Yep. So to come back to this lovely topic of human sacrifice, there's all sorts of reasons. Brides and concubines were taken with their leaders, to go into the next life. Same thing with family and retainers sometimes, right? They would do the same thing. Child sacrifices, though, are just, they're just so egregious.
So that is exactly the word I was going to use.
It's so hard to, it's the horse, the carriage before the horse, totally. And there's some specific examples that I want us to think about because although they're very egregious, I really believe there's truly power. The word God tells us, right, that there's power in the blood, and
the life is in the blood.
It's not just a passing phrase. It is legit. So there's a story that apparently when the foundations of Jericho were laid, Hiel, the ruler at the time, to obtain access to fertile land that was watered by the As Sultan Spring. I hope I'm saying that right. and provided a strategic location. It was difficult for him to get his hands on this land, and so what did he do? He literally took babies, put them in jars, and laid them as the foundation for Jericho, as
Good
a
night.
sacrificial offering to be able to obtain this land.
No wonder Jericho was so accursed. Like seriously, like it has one of the weirdest curses that God has ever given.
Yeah,
that has
it sure
been
does.
written down. After Joshua destroyed it, God said that if Jericho ever be rebuilt, it would be rebuilt on the blood of the builder's oldest and youngest sons.
Yeah.
I'd have to reread the curse. I don't remember. One is the walls and one is the gates, I think, but it's crazy. It's a crazy curse. And when it was rebuilt, that is what happened. There's historical record of it, so it's crazy. Cool. But I didn't know we were talking about that, so I didn't pull up references.
No, you're good. And it's
Sorry,
just kind of those things that I stumbled across and was like, oh, that seems very relevant. So clearly there's some power there.
Well, if you remember, sorry, Rick, when we were talking about the Stargate Babel, when we were reading some of the historical accounts that oh gosh, I can't think of what king it was now. He and his sons were building the ziggurat, and he sacrificed his favorite son.
Yes.
Remember?
Yeah, I do remember.
I don't think it's Hammurabi. I'll see if I can find who it is.
No, I don't think it's Hammurabi either. I can't remember the guy's name though.
I think Hammurabi may have written the account.
While you're thinking, I'll talk. I'll talking. I want to stick on this one with child sacrifice, because I think not only is it the most egregious, but I have some thoughts, and I kind of want your feedback actually as well, Shell, but because this is not something that I came to a real conclusion on, but I have a ton of speculation about. Some other reasons that child sacrifice was done was in order to avert general destruction for a people. Rulers would give up, and I thought this is really heavy. I was like, wow. Rulers would give up their most beloved children as sacrifices as a ransom for avenging demons. And I'm using demons specifically because I think this really comes back to the Mesopotamian idea that there were demons that would kind of like infight, and you would have good demons and bad demons, which is also kind of lended to later in the Greek, that to appease one, you would appease the other, and so on and so forth. And so they would literally slay usually their firstborn with all sorts of mystic rites. I think it's interesting that it's the firstborn always, and God does the same thing. And it's theorized that the reason that God always accepts the first fruit is so that it wouldn't have to be sacrificed, when it came to a human. It was done also to avoid pestilence. And this is, I'm going to say this one, it's going to be something we talk about here in a little bit, but there's actually a mention in this excerpt that I read about the Greeks. And there was a minotaur that was, I think, like basically in a cave. And so they would annually take children to this minotaur to feed it so that it wouldn't kill everyone, basically.
That's super common in 100%. But that's a reoccurring theme in Greek, Roman, probably all societies.
Yeah.
In the mythos, in the lore. Yeah. throw the child into the or the virgin into the volcano so it doesn't erupt.
Do you think so? In Virgin, it's good that you mentioned the Virgin as well. Do you think it was explicitly just because of the innocence factor?
The pureness?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I can't think of any other reason for it to be, a child or a virgin girl.
Yeah.
Or a virgin guy.
Well, also because they don't have power.
Yeah.
So they didn't have power in their societies. That's the easier.
They had no say, of course.
Yeah. So
that's a good point.
I mean, a man of great standing is not going to be thrown into the volcano.
Yeah, usually not. Did you find the thing you're looking for? Or you want me to keep going?
No, go ahead, keep going.
Okay. So those are just thoughts, but my point here is that the body is very clearly a ritualistic instrument for opening a portal. And a lot of times, when they would sacrifice these children or, innocent females, virgin females, they would specifically, it was in all sorts of mystical ways and very, exaggerated things, all sorts of mystical rites, just like mentioned. So I just kind of wanted to mention that one. Fifth, coming up to point number 5, and I labeled each one of these, but I did want to touch on sex magic, since we've talked about what's appropriate with the body, and most of us, are pretty. The Bible lays it out pretty blatantly. It's not super
Right.
hard.
You know what though? It's real interesting because there has been so much false narrative, if you will, regarding sex. Oh, nobody's supposed to enjoy it, or the woman's not supposed to enjoy it, or it's unseemly. And if you read Song of Songs, Song of Solomon, God clearly understood what he was creating for us, and he saw that it was good.
I'm gonna make my
until
wife
you,
hate
huh?
me if I'm gonna make my wife hate me if I make any comments about this one. Go ahead, Jill.
But our puritanical roots here in America have made us, man, we are so asinine with regard to sex. It's a taboo thing, but we sell toothpaste with boobies. Frustrates me to death. A woman can't breastfeed her child because somebody's going to flip out because they're going to see a boob, but these are the same people who watch Baywatch every day, or whatever, insert favorite show with jiggling flesh. I'm really trying to find nice ways to say the crass thing in my brain. Go ahead and just laugh. We'll get over that. But that is how we are, and it's super frustrating. Instead of no,
I've been waiting to play this. Oh man, I couldn't resist.
But it can't be the normal thing that is supposed to happen,
right,
between husband and wife. That people look forward to. Come on, you don't get married to mess your financial portfolios. That is not why people get married.
Unless it's a
They
sexual
get married. Right, unless that's some way of saying it. But we do.
Let's get married and live in separate beds and sleep in separate beds all the time. Let's do that.
2 separate rooms even. We're just merging our assets.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we're merging some
That's
sort of assets.
right.
Uh,
But it's supposed to be a normal thing. And
yeah,
if you
is.
spend time with any other societies, you find that Americans were so weird. We're so backwards
Yeah.
in how like sex is super taboo.
Mhm.
Um, but everything is sold with sex appeal.
Yeah.
Everything
Yeah.
is. And and talk about mixed signals that we send out. And and that's because again, there's the long con. Our enemies have a very long play in
Mhm.
motion. They've been doing it in America for the last 400 years, um, confusing us with puritanical gobbledygook and then mixing it in with hedonistic um, commercialism. And no wonder we don't know if we're coming or going. And it's one of those things I've always looked at, and it frustrates me. And most of the time, I'm like, I'm the only person who sees this. Maybe I'm the one that's weird. Um,
No, no.
but
It's. I mean, as a man, especially, one of the hardest things in our current society is dealing with the amount of sexual bombardment that
no
men face. I mean,
kidding.
I am not giving men a free pass to um, say that women are the problem, how they dress, or how this or how that. You're a man. Conduct yourself as one. Be
Right.
be a man, and like the word says, stand up, be a man. Don't make excuses. Also, at the freaking same time, like I
Come on, ladies.
I don't want to. No. I mean, that good. You say that portion. That's fine with me.
Oh, I will say that portion
Good for
because
you.
it is a two-way street, you
It totally
know?
is. And I mean, for me, like, I can't remember where the word says it, but I think I can't remember who says it in the Old Testament. He says, I've made a covenant with my eyes, right? And that really, I've had to come back to that, especially more recently. Um, and I'm not worried or anything. I'm happy to say it. My wife she's like, I trust you 100 million%. She's like, I'm like, good. I'm glad. I don't really have anything to hide. She's like, I trust you because like I asked to see your phone and you're like, oh, here, fine. Yeah, whatever. I don't care. There's nothing to hide there. You might
Right.
find some boring alien videos you don't want to watch, but you like,
You know, Danny and I have the same password
it's good,
on our
man.
phones,
I don't because my
and
wife doesn't
we
speak very
and
good
we
English.
oh, we have the same password, and we have our
Used to.
thumbprints on each other's.
Oh, there you go. That makes perfect sense. Um,
We've
so
both, though, been cheated on by previous spouses, so,
jeez,
you know,
be honest, man. Honesty's
it
best policy.
it just for us, it was one of those things of, we've gotta have some transparency
Sure.
because we've both been hurt and we both, harbor
Yeah.
a little bit of fire shyness.
Yeah, man. No kidding. Um, so having said that, I guess coming back to my point, I was just say, well, it's neither here nor there. I mean, it's rough for guys, and we need to, be conscious of everything going on, and really, if it means decoupling from the internet for a while, do it, man. Do it. If that's what that means, then do it.
Putting stuff on your phone,
Yeah.
like the safety features, do you know what the
Strange flesh. We talked about it before. Ain't nothing
do
new.
you know what the new average age of first exposure to porn is?
I want to say it's like 7 or 9.
It's 7.
Yeah. Jeez.
that kills me.
Yeah.
You know, I hope that the adults, the parents in this, listening to this just went, no way. Now, go to your kid's phone.
Yep.
Go to your kid's phone. Help your kids out now. 7 years old. God
crazy,
help us.
Let me think here.
Talk about this is a different type of child sacrifice.
Yeah,
This is
man.
the one where it's a slow burn
Sheesh.
instead of a fast one.
I'm going to totally shift gears here. I wanted to talk about altered states of mind. Like I had mentioned, right? Sex magic, basically altered states of mind to become a portal, but also altered states of literal being. I didn't have time to look up all the stuff that I wanted to, but I do want to highlight what you guys would probably recognize as tantric, right? Tantric and like, I don't know, sex magic, sex enlightenment. I don't know what else to really call it. There are several things that we can do to produce these kind of things. And all of these, actually, not just the sexual portion, all of these are ways to really activate the portal of our body, or at least, kind of prime the body for the ritual itself. Mantras or chanting, basically, right?
By the way, we're not advocating any of this. Quite the opposite.
There are ways. Actually, what's funny is that most of these things have a proper way to be enacted, but Christians are so freaking terrified about talking about them that,
again, that's that puritanical.
It totally is. You were just talking about the prayer beads. I mean, that's a prime example, man. I'm not advocating for prayer beads either, but I mean, like, like, it's not for nothing that other people have.
I have some right here.
I don't want to call them talismans, but I mean, I guess you could call them that if you want to. But I would just say spiritual activators, spiritual lubricants, like for prayer, or for or for communion, right? With the divine. Good Lord, like, God put things on the earth for us to use. It's okay. Like, if you're praying to the rock, well, that's a problem. But if you're sitting on the rock and you're recognizing that God can imbue things with spiritual power, and you can connect better with him in certain places. I mean, maybe you need to come off your high horse and realize, like, it's okay to go to a mountain to use it as a portal to talk to God. Like, that's okay. He put it there for you.
Right.
The mountain can be a very sacred place, and we shouldn't shy away from those realities. In fact, we should embrace those realities. I think that they allow us to come back to a more grounded footing in reality. I really do. Yeah. I really, really do. So I'm not advocating. Like I mentioned, the reason for mentioning these is there is inappropriate ways. It's simply to kind of drive the point home that you're either going to use it for the right reasons or for the wrong reasons, but they're reasons all the same. And we all have a need to use this body as a portal or as an activator, right? So mantras, there are certainly ways that we can do this kind of thing, that we can do this kind of chanting or repeating a prayer or repeating a meditative thought to the Lord over and over. And that absolutely puts us in an altered state of mind. And I don't think that that's a bad thing. I know that the Bible's clear that we don't repeat, mindless prayers, but if what you're doing is not mindless, I mean, I don't see a problem with it. That's like saying that speaking in tongues has no place because, you don't know what you're saying. Obviously it does. Like, it's a manifestation of the Spirit. So I would take sharp issue with that. I thought this was really interesting. In lieu of reciting chants, they just put them on their body, which I'm sure you guys know about. Tibetan tattooing is very, very well known, and I think that that's exactly what it's referring to. But then we really come to the one that kind of takes the cake, is sexual yoga, also known as tantric, which is what you guys would think of. It's ritual sexual union with an actual physical consort or an imagined deity.
No,
Yeah.
see, I would not have thought of this because I take so much issue with regular yoga or holy yoga.
This is like
I have never
holy
thought of
moly
sex
yoga.
yoga.
Yeah. I mean,
Cheese and rice.
you know, I hadn't even thought that would like, you know, like bring all this stuff to your attention, but I think it's really important
Man.
to think about,
Oof.
because I would say it is essentially magic and ritualistic, all the same, even
Well,
though,
no, that most assuredly is like
well,
you are
yes,
literally trying to be possessed by
yeah,
a
yeah. Well, wait,
unclean
well,
spirit.
I mean, by definition, what I just said, right? This is called the Karma Mudra, which literally means desire seal, like to close something off, a seal. Not the not that kind of seal.
Maybe
So
it should be the other kind of
it'd
seal.
probably be less, a little more wholesome. So there's something called yidams, which is or yidam, which is basically, but you know, I'm not going to get into all of this stuff because it's super complicated, super complex, and super confusing. But just the basics, so we get to the point.
That's such an icky.
It is, and I'm gonna break down every one of these to you guys. So Yidam is the god of meditation, and when visualized as the Yab Yum in sexual union, can be used to reach enlightened states in a quick fashion. What does that mean? Yab Yum basically means father mother. So like you are visualizing them literally interlocking and becoming one. And that's how you meditate on the nothingness and gain enlightenment. I'm just breaking it down for you guys.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So this is stuff that Anton LaVey used.
That's true. He sure did.
I forgot that they did stuff like this
Aleister
to
Crowley
where
did
they
this
would.
kind of stuff too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, it may have been Crowley and his oh gosh, what is it called?
His that weird alien looking thing that he would draw. Is that what you're thinking of?
No, what he called his religion. It's not Theosophy. I'll have to look at what it is really quick.
While you do that, I'm
Go
gonna
on.
No, you're good. So there's two other ways to practice this. One is not super sexual, but I thought it was very interesting because of what it does and how it uses the body. It's called Tumo. Tumo is a fierce goddess of heat and passion. So essentially what you do is you learn how to control your breathing in order to generate internal heat through specific concentration on these breathing patterns. So you can reach different levels of bliss and literally learn to control your body and like as far as I understand it, like individual functions of your body, with the use of chakras and meditation on emptiness. So you can.
So that's like those guys who could balance on a finger or whatever, look like they're levitating, whatever. That's what they're trying to get to. It's Thelema, by the way.
The what?
Thelema or Thalama.
Oh.
It is Aleister Crowley's thing, but that's what they would do, like start having sex and not finish, do this build-up thing for the power and
Yep, and that's actually mentioned precisely here, and what I'm about to get to, but I didn't go into that whole thing. But what I thought was interesting about this internal heating thing is that, like, scientists have measured these people's bodies that are really proficient at doing this, and they can like literally self-regulate their bodies. It's kind of crazy. You can control their metabolism, their internal heat, their thermal power output. I mean, it's very, very crazy. And then third comes to our real point, which is literal sexual yoga. A lot of times used with alcohol consumption. Imagine that. To alter the state of mind.
Isn't that just called a bad date?
Right. I'm not going to say that joke.
Okay.
Drink till she's pretty. I said it anyway.
Beer
Um,
goggles.
and they would offer meat to deities. Now, I thought this was very curious, given, you know, that portion of the world is very against eating meat. So it's very interesting that they're offering it to deities. But they would do the visualization of the god or goddess, but literally using a consort. So literally using another human to physically have sex while visualizing the god or goddess. Or
That's a crowded room.
Yep. So that whole part about, you know, inviting the spirits all up in that bad boy. And what was interesting,
Firm pass.
sorry, I'm going to have to say this out loud, but it is important for us to understand that physical things are so very powerful. God made us this way on purpose. It says, moreover, sexual fluids can be seen as a power substance for ritual purposes, internally or externally. So, what you do with your body on this earth is super duper important. There is more stuff I want to talk about, and I will whet your appetite just in case you guys want to follow us behind the paywall. But we haven't even gotten into the cool, interesting stuff about Nephilim yet, and we're about to go there. So if you would like to hear about how the Nephilim potentially regenerate their bodies and some other cool stuff that we're going to be talking about, you should join us behind the paywall. It's only $3, guys. You don't have to. Absolutely. This is kind of the end. I think unless you have anything else to share on this end, Shell?
No, I'm just going to talk about the ways that the body is a portal without sex.
There's tons of them, man, which is why I kind of mentioned some of the like the Tumo and everything that you self-regulate your body. I mean, that's some crazy stuff, man. And there's tons of ways. Shoot them off, man. Do it.
Well, you know, there's the good old regular meditation, not for sex.
Very true.
Where you try to clear your mind so that you can transcend to a higher state, to become enlightened or one with the God essence, or some Christians will say, right? With the Nakash, indeed. What is that called? The Kundalini.
Kundalini.
Oh gosh. There's astral projection.
There is astral projection.
Which if you
CTDW does not endorse or support any of the following things. Please be advised that if you practice any of these are terrible and will totally devour your life. Turn to Jesus and be saved.
Exactly.
In nome de Padre Spiritus Sanctus. Okay.
Amen. Just with astral projection, if you wondered if your body is a portal or not, here's like, to me, the clearest example. You go and you astral walk, and while you're out and about, your soul or your spirit not in your body, but your body still breathing and functioning, something else moves in. And you may or may not be able to get back into your body. All the reasons why I would firmly pass on that from here to eternity. Yeah, I just summed them up.
I think astral projection gives a whole new meaning to I'm walking on sunshine. Oh,
yeah, and you get locked out of your house. Can you imagine locked out of your body? Ew, like ew.
That's crazy. So that I didn't know that was the thing that you could get locked out.
Yeah, people have talked about going to go back and something else being there, and like now you have to share your body or you don't get back in it. That to me is like the craziest thing to do. I would jump.
crazy.
I would base dive. I
Well, I
would
mean,
jump off a tall building with a parachute
yeah.
before I would ever astral
Well,
project.
that really lends further credence, doesn't it, to the fact that we are not our bodies. They're just
Yeah,
the place
like
we live.
100%.
Yeah.
Like really, you can see that. Oh, this is my vehicle.
Crazy, man.
You got carjacked.
You got something jacked, man.
Right? And then the whole human 2.0.
Oosh. Yeah, man. We're guys, I know what Shelley's saying. We're gonna talk about transhumanism. It will be at the beginning of next year. It's not gonna be right away, but we are gonna deal with it. We just for the record, we are very anti-transhumanist. Just in case you were wondering.
In case
This is
you
no endorsement for the
know
CTDW
already.
store by any means necessary.
However, should you desire to purchase.
Josh was telling me, he was like, hey man, you guys should make that into a shirt. I was like, all right. I'm
Totally agree.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's been the intent all along.
We're getting there, guys. Yeah, getting there.
Even things like our use of the internet, of cell phones, if we actually can be uploaded. I know Elon and his crew, and probably other scientists as well, are trying to be able to upload human consciousness. Yep. Now, I don't.
That's a topic.
I still think our mind is separate from our spirit or our soul. I think that we're three parts.
Mm-hmm.
We're
like the word says.
We're a spirit who has a mind and inhabits a body.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can upload our consciousness, is that just our mind that is uploaded? I don't think the spirit goes with it.
Yeah.
I don't think mankind can control the spirit to this day. We don't have the ability. The body, yeah, sure, meh, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think that's why.
Although I wouldn't just toss it out as like just a meat vehicle, because I don't think that that's all that our body is. Like,
no, I agree. I absolutely agree.
Spiritual. I mean, it wouldn't. We literally just finished talking about babies being used for the foundations of Jericho. For me to be like, nah, the body's just meat. It doesn't matter.
Well, and that's why the word cautions us. Don't be worried about the one who can kill the body. Right. Our body's replaceable. It's going to be replaced. We are going to have an eternal body.
There was a really great podcast between Jordan Peterson and, oh man, what's his name? He's an English professor. No, not an English professor. Sorry, he's an English like UK is what I mean. Professor, what is his bloody name, man?
I saw that there was that. I haven't seen it.
Bloody name. I'm just kidding. Man, I'm gonna forget his name. Sorry, go ahead.
I know who you're talking about. I hadn't watched it yet.
It's really
it keeps
good.
Coming through my feed. They
talk about transhumanism a little bit, and he just says such a beautiful thing, man. He's like, yeah, of course there's a remedy. He's like, I'm excited. He's like, I'm gonna get a new body. We don't need to. I don't need to stay here. There's no reason for that. Like, I'm gonna take off, man. It's very cool.
That's exactly how I feel about it too.
Yeah, well, that's accurate, man. That's totally accurate. John Lennox. That's his name.
Yeah.
John Lennox.
Yep.
Sorry, go ahead.
I
Shelley.
have seen it. It's come through my feed a couple of times, at the very least twice. What was I saying? Oh, about the other portals that interact with our body, like the internet. I know. Was it our first? It was our first Cosmovision. Was
Are we in
that
a simulation?
the Tim Pool, the Tim Cast? Oh my
Yeah.
gosh! When they were talking about
It's
VR,
really good topic. Yeah, the internet's. I really think that we should next year at some point literally just talk about the digital world as a portal. It's a really freaking difficult subject, but it's
I don't even know that I
interesting.
think the digital world is a portal. I think the digital world might be a different
Dimension.
realm. Yeah.
It's
And
entirely possible.
that there will be some sort of human. Well, I guess we already have it. But I think maybe there will be a higher level, a more interactive level between our bodies and the
Oh, that
technology.
interface is already here. It's already here.
I mean, I know that there's the chip that Elon talks about, and it's so funny because he's like, it's such a bad idea. Let me create it. Then he's like, please make my escape pod so that I can go live on Mars when this planet implodes. But it's not going to implode. God's going to catch us before it does. But I'm sure we'll do tons and tons of damage to our world and ourselves, in the interim. Man, that was most of the body is a portal. These are the very obvious things that prove that our body's a portal. But
and by definition, it couldn't be a portal, right? Unless we were able to use it to travel, right? Or to allow passage, right? And because we can, we've touched on birth, right? Which we know,
right?
We've touched on and just kind of rehashing the sexual aspect. Birth is one of them, right? But then on the other side, for all sorts of witchcraft type things, there's access for us into the spiritual and vice versa, right? There's access for things to come into us.
Well, yeah,
what you talk about is super, super important, man, because I mean, good night. There's so many things you can do with your body that it's like I've talked about.
We haven't even touched on the best one. And the best one is the infilling of the Holy Spirit.
Oh, yeah, man.
I mean, God,
yes,
like literally wants to commune with us.
By the way,
pretty much in our body.
We are both firm belief. I mean, it's not even belief. Like for me, it's just like the way I walk every day. It's an undeniable fact because it's part of who I am. We are both infilled Christians who believe very strongly in the infilling, not just the receiving of the Holy Spirit,
not just a temporary anointing, right?
But that both things are true, because I know a lot of people do not believe that. And if you're a cessationist still watching our podcast, welcome.
Good for you.
Very, very much welcome. But we are not cessationists, not even a little bit. We are ever cautious on our acceptance of certain gifts, right? On how they're employed. But
yeah, I believe in all of the gifts of the Holy Ghost. I think some are way more rare, and I think some are very easy for humans to counterfeit.
And I think that humans also have different levels and different aspects of how those things play out.
Most definitely.
Like when I was literally watching that Gary Wayne one, that Gary Wayne episode with the blurry creatures, and he made a really interesting comment. He goes, "Oh yeah, I got into this kind of prophecy realm through blah blah blah," and I went, "Oh yeah, that's accurate. You are dealing in prophecy. That's very true. It's a very intellectual way of interfacing with prophecy, but it absolutely is totally."
Well, and haven't you noticed that there are seasons? There's seasons when the Holy Spirit will gift you with something,
Yeah.
and like you move in it really powerful for a while, and then it kind of that the time for that
Yeah.
for you is
It's
like,
fast. Yeah.
and then God will like use it occasionally.
Sure.
He did that really strongly for me in babies for quite a while. Man, I knew when people were pregnant.
That's my wife.
I
man.
knew when people were gonna become pregnant, and it was super strong for a while, and then it was like that thing was done, and it came after obedience. I'll tell you. That's one thing I've noticed too, is when God calls me to move in a way that's very uncomfortable for me, then there's a gifting that normally comes after my obedience it's very cool to be a part of, and I'm always just like, wow, that's really pretty cool, God. Thanks for that, for letting me be a part of that.
Thanks, bruh.
Yeah, it's like, I don't even know. This is really great. I appreciate you letting me be a part of it. But
That's interesting about the obedience thing. It makes sense. It's very interesting.
later I'll tell you a very specific instance. You will all the people.
Okay.
But it's not a story I would necessarily share with the public.
Oh, I get you. Guys, I think we're gonna, and did you want to mention anything else? I'm sorry, Shell. I mean to cut
No.
you. All right,
Nope,
guys.
you're good.
All right. Unless you're behind the paywall, we're going to peace out. We love you guys. So, Shell, you want to go ahead and give the blessing, and we'll sign off for
Absolutely.
our followers.
Yep. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his countenance towards you and give you peace. Shalom, guys.
Shalom, shalom. God bless, and Maranatha.
Maranatha.
We love you guys. And we're back.
Seems like only a second ago we said goodbye.
What happened? We never left. Sorry, subscribers that had to sit through us saying goodbye. We're so sorry. Not sorry.
Parting is such sweet sorrow.
Oh, it's terrible. It's truly terrible. Shell, I guess you can tell me about that other thing in a little bit. I think that's a personal thing, guys.
It is. It's a personal thing.
There are two topics that I wanted to really get to about portals, and the reason that I focused so much on the sexual aspect. First of all, it's kind of the most basic, right? I mean, it's very 101. There's no brain power involved. It's just the body doing its thing, right? But what was particularly interesting to me is that when it's used incorrectly, it can be an inverse. It can be a portal for the opposite side, and that is exactly what the Nephilim are. That was the incorrect use of the body, right. And I didn't get a chance to talk about the shot. We can kind of elaborate. There's a lot to talk about here, but what I really wanted to touch on is that it's very interesting to me that what does the God always demand? Who does the God demand when it comes to a child sacrifice? It's not the daughter.
Firstborn? Oh yeah, no, it's always the son.
It's always the oldest, the firstborn male. And I think that represents, and you can, bounce back off what you think here, but I think that has to do with the innate vigor, right, of your seed, like the initial seed itself being cut off at the root, right? And basically the powers, we'll just call them the dark powers, right? That's exactly what they are. The dark powers basically saying, I have the control here. You are not the one that runs the show. I run the show. That's why you're
also the opening of the womb.
Ooh, that's good. That's very good. That's good stuff, man.
Because, well, you know, spending so much time in the first 5 books of the Bible recently, you know, you see the importance of
so cool
of the opening of the womb. It's there's a lot there, not even just humans, but the firstborn of anything, of a donkey, of an ox, of a sheep, you know, they were all to be redeemed.
God demands them, yeah.
And there's a redemption price or sacrifice to be paid for the firstborn human as well. You know, God's really pretty particular, and especially when the firstborn is a male.
Yeah, man.
But even just the firstborn, the womb opener is important, has an important place. So of course, if it's important to God, then the enemy wants to thwart it at every turn.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it is that's a really important point about the redemption, the redemptive quality of the firstborn, right? It's not just that they're the firstborn, it's that they need to be redeemed, right? And in this case, it's like, let's cut off the firstborn. No redemptive ability here.
And we know that's what they wanted to do from the beginning, you know, since Genesis 3:16, when the first promise, you know, is given by Yahweh, and he says her seed will crush your skull and your seed will pierce his heel.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so from the beginning, they have been looking to keep the snake crusher from coming.
Heck yeah, man. Yeah, no, that's really good. It also is I mean, that's coming back to that's what the Nephilim were essentially for, right? I mean, that's it, and it's so interesting to me that the body, for us, procreation is such a natural, like, it's just the way things are. Like, that's just what has to happen, you know? Like, our very our hormones, the way we grow, the way we, you know, start to perceive the opposite sex at a certain age, it's just it's so innate that we don't even really, you know, we don't even think about it. Like, it's just, oh yeah, it's that age, it's birds and the bees, you know, we don't really. Yeah.
Oh, the word every kid hates to hear. It's the worst word in the English dictionary.
Good old puberty. It's just, I mean, I can imagine how infuriating it must have felt to be, or must feel, to not really have the purpose of procreating at all. That God's like, it's not what I made you for, right?
They really were not made for it, though. Right. That's why I'm gonna say, and I'm not 100% sure, but I'm probably 97.5% sure of this statement.
Some accuracy on your precision of
yeah,
confidence.
well,
Man, I'm impressed.
And that is that all of the Elohim are male. They're all referred to not as the offspring of God, but as the sons of God. So they were never designed to procreate.
Right.
It kind of just doesn't. They're not frogs. Some of them don't change over to chicks. I mean, I know they try to sell us that in their cosmic conspiracy, but the truth of the matter is, none of them can have babies. There ain't no womb.
If which was a great clip, by the way. I have to repost that one. If they can shapeshift, I'm sure they can give themselves boobs. It's not that weird, you know.
I mean, I'm sure they can do some of it, but I'm pretty sure working womb just is not.
Yeah, no. I mean, I would agree with that. It's just, ooh, that's a very interesting topic. I hadn't really thought about that. I'll have to think about it later. But I do agree with you. I also think that they are all male. And they're probably all intentionally male, right? You don't, contrary
That's
to
why I think
the rest
women
of freaking history, God has armies that are male, and armies were designed to be males, or otherwise, what in God's name are we protecting? Like, you can hate me if you want. You can go feminist rant if you want. That's fine. That is my opinion. I don't think women should be in the armed forces. I just don't. I don't think so, because you guys are the most precious thing that we have in existence. Like, why would I think otherwise? I mean, I'm not
get
opposed if you
though
wanna do
there are
it, but
some women who are warriors. I mean, Lorraine
it's true.
And what's her name? The chick who played Wonder Woman.
There's also, oh yeah, Gal Gadot. Man, she's a
Yeah.
gorgeous female. Who was this? Oh man, and that's not to say that there aren't women that aren't qualified to do it, man. That's not what I mean. But I just
No, but I don't
just
think
feel such a like, women are just, they're so precious. They're just such a precious thing for humanity. Like, it's like, dude, you guys give life. We can't do that. Like, that's not, you guys are the portal. Like, we don't, you know, we just add the ingredient, but you guys are the portal, right? Who was I thinking of? In World War II, she dressed as a man because she was the best freaking sniper that we had. I mean, she was a phenomenal sniper.
I don't know. I don't know who this story is. Now I need to find out.
I watched it on, or I heard it on, Mike, what's that dude that does, he used to have Dirty Jobs, the show Dirty Jobs. Mike, what's his face? I love his.
I can't think of his name. Yeah, he's real cool. I like him, but I did not know that. That's very interesting.
Don't hate me, women. I'm not saying that you guys don't have those qualities. There are
Well,
few and far
it's like
women
the
in
draft
too,
that they pushed through the draft so that women can now be drafted.
It's asinine. No,
and if things turn south, you know, between China and Taiwan, or if they keep escalating in the Middle East, women can be drafted.
Ugh.
Now, what will happen is there will be a spate of pregnancies,
it's fine with me,
because trying to draft women inherently is doomed to more failure than drafting males. But
good.
I mean, I don't have a problem with women serving if they want to serve, but I am glad that all women don't serve. And, you know, Hannah and I were talking about it, and she was like, well, why, Mom? What do you think is wrong with women being drafted? And I said, in all honesty, they draft the draft age is between 18 and 30, 35. We're not going to have anybody here to make babies.
Yeah.
There goes the next generation, so we're going to die out.
Oh, that's not intentional.
Yeah. It
We're
just,
already,
I mean, that's my reason. Do I think a woman can hold a gun and shoot? Absolutely.
Yeah.
I have no problem with shield maidens. I know they existed, and I get why, because we're fierce when you piss us off. We're fierce when we have something to protect. But somebody's got to be making, like you said, somebody's got to make something to protect.
Ricky, I loved you. Now I can't stand you. I just feel so deeply that women are they're you guys are so important and beautiful and unique. Like, there's just, I mean, God imbued you guys with qualities that we just don't have. Like, there's just no way that a guy can have the qualities that a woman does.
Well, and
And
you know what? Every so
I
often
mean,
there is
we're meant to be
a
grunts,
woman,
you know?
right? There is a woman. There's Deborah. There's
Yeah,
Judith
man.
Maccabee. You know, there have been
Joan of Arc.
some fierce well, I was speaking biblically, but yes,
Oh yeah, well, I was thinking of strong women in general in history.
there are always some exceptional women, and again, I think of the Shield Maidens. I think, you know, I get it, but you also don't want your culture to die out, your
Yeah,
people to
man.
die out because everybody who is of
There's,
childbearing age is out on the battlefield.
I mean, it
That's a
really.
horrid thought.
I was not intending to go here, but it's all good. This is an interesting conversation, but I don't think that it's any, I don't think it's any mistake that the draft was instituted when we have like the lowest and most abysmal pregnancy uh, ratings, or what's not the word, pregnancy fertility ratings, right? In like as long back
Right.
as I can remember, because we freaking screwed up all of our food. We have all sorts of weird petroleum-based
Yeah.
medicines. We have terrible work hours. We have terrible work social life balance. We have, I mean, our country's like, I was literally talking to my wife today, and we were chatting about heading down to Mexico come December. And my brother-in-law was like, hey man, we can't, we don't have I don't have another vehicle. Like, he's like, how are we going to get around? I'm like, well, dude, we got to take an Uber, we'll take an Uber. Like, it is what it is, it's fine. He's like, all right. He's like, well, I'm going to keep trying. None of the missionaries have any vans or any cars or anything like that anymore down here. She's like, so I don't know who to borrow a car from for here in Mexico. So my wife was like, well, let's ask, a bunch of my cousins and family members. So she posted on a WhatsApp message to a big old group that she has. And she's like, hey, does anybody have a vehicle? We need one, just for getting around here and there. We're only going to need it for like a week and a half, and so on and so forth. And my cousin responds, you could try Hertz Mexico. And we're like, okay. So my wife went to go check, and like, it costs us almost as much as it does for the freaking plane ticket, to rent the car for as long as that.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really dumb. And so I just was laughing, and I was like, man, your cousins are so dense. Like, they don't get how ridiculous it is to live here. And she's like, yeah. She's like, they really don't. She's like, they're like, wow, you guys make dollars. I'm like, yeah, but if you knew how much it costs to freaking live here, then you would think otherwise about it. Like, it didn't used to be this way. I happen to remember a few years ago, it didn't used to be this way at all. But yeah, man, it's insane. It's insane trying
now
to.
All of our percentages don't match up. That's what it is.
Yeah.
When
Well,
the percentage of your pay that goes to a mortgage
garbage.
or rent is not the 30% that it used to be, or the 20% that it used to be. The percentage that it took to buy groceries for the week is not what it used to be.
Crazy now, man.
Anyway, it's not about the dollar at all. It's about the power of the dollar, which is nada.
Yeah. You said that really well, by the way. Good job.
Thank you. Sometimes.
My only point here was just that, like, all of those stressors are causing fertility rates to plummet, just absolutely plummet. And it's we don't need any more women going off to war, unless I guess they absolutely want to. I mean, that's perfect. I mean, I have tons of lady friends that are in the armed forces, so I can't say don't do that. It's just a gut instinct. Like,
but geez. I don't want my government to send all of our women.
No, I don't want them to send any of them unless they want to go.
Right. I don't want all of the grandparents.
Psycho blue-haired feminist does not speak. The crazy blue-haired psycho feminist does not speak for the rest of women. Sorry, that's not how it works.
Right.
Like, they can be psycho, and you can send them on the draft if they want to go. Fine, but
Well, and the thing is the
I
people
don't
who
even want
did
them to go.
that was our Congress that
Term
frustrates
limits.
me to pieces. Oh, term limits. Gosh, we
Yeah,
so
man.
need term
Yeah,
limits.
we do.
But they did that, that was one of those middle of the night secret meetings,
Oh, doesn't God say he hates that kind of thing? Yeah, that's right. He
right?
does hate that kind of thing.
Well, yeah, because that's when evil deeds are done.
Dirty deeds and done dirt cheap. So
By
coming back
Congress.
to by Congress. So coming back to the Nephilim here, when you were saying, by the way, that for whom the bell tolls, all I could think of was the Metallica song. I'm not gonna lie.
I don't even know if I know it.
Tolls. That's all I could think of.
Oh, yeah. I
Oh,
don't like
don't say
metal.
ugh.
Sorry,
Oh,
I'm sorry, I
that's
really
light metal.
don't.
That's not even like metal. Like they don't even scream. It's just he's just singing
I'm
with passion.
like, no, for whom the bell tolls, and I just think of the beautiful poem. I love John Donne, so
Yes, I know you do.
he's
You're
the
very
heck out of
big fan of him.
Metallica. I
I mean,
am.
well, I mean, I wouldn't really argue with
I
that, but I
mean,
mean,
he's not as great as
they're
William Blake, but
they're not
anyway,
even. I mean, like they're not even the same ballpark. Like it's not even the
I
same
know.
competition.
They're
Um,
peas and steak, I get it.
yeah, correct. Which one do you think of the peas? Is what I'm thinking. um, so coming back to the Nephilim, it always comes back to the Nephilim. It always comes back to Genesis.
Well, it really does.
It really
Like
does.
so much.
Well, and what's mind-boggling is that these dudes couldn't just be settled with the fact that we get to be portals and they don't, and so they literally, what is the word here? I will just say bait and
Hijack?
switch. Yeah, hijacked, but that's not what I'm really worried. That works though. Hijacked. I mean, they hijacked God's system for this glorious empire that He had here for us on Earth. It's pretty crazy, man. And that really leads us. I know I'm just kind of mentioning those guys in passing, but there's a reason that leads us to the next one, which is demon possession. If you are a subscriber of ours, you should already know that demons are just the spirits of dead Nephilim, because you can't kill an eternal being. Only God can make them not exist or suffer, however He chooses to do that. But given the laws and the what will we say, time-stamped reality that we live in, right? Their spirits exist. They didn't ask to be born, but they were.
And they're stuck here because they're
where else are they going to go?
One parent was earthbound and one parent was not. So they're eternal from their Elohimic parent.
From the waist down.
and they're earthbound because of primarily the mother. At least the first generation is human mother and Elohimic father.
Why? But I'd be interested to know. But Marzulli thinks that they're mules. He doesn't think that they can procreate beyond what they are.
I disagree with him.
I also do.
And I'll give you biblical.
Bring it.
In
I think that's what Medusa
Leviticus is. Numbers, when Joshua and Caleb and the fighting men are sent out against the Anakim
to survey.
No, after they've come back, everybody's shaking but Caleb and Joshua.
They're called the Anakim, right? In the Bible.
There's the Anakim are offspring of the Rephaim that are offspring of the Nephilim, and that's how the Bible says it.
The Moabites call them Amim. I'm trying to find what you're talking about.
should be Numbers, because we just started Deuteronomy, so it should be
Whoa.
in Numbers.
I don't know why I've never caught that part in the verse. Where are we going up? This is sorry, guys. I'm just going to read this because it's super interesting. Where are we going up? Our brothers have made our hearts melt, saying, the people are greater and taller than we. The cities are great and fortified up to heaven.
To heaven. Mm-hmm.
And besides, we have seen the sons of Anakim there. I never noticed they are fortified up to heaven. Holy crap. Or at least it never
Keep
made
reading,
any sense.
because right there, I believe, is where it
Is it right
talks
there?
about them being the Rephaim and then offspring of the Nephilim.
Oh, that was just hold on. I just saw that. Give me a sec. Let me go back.
See, but that tells me that's several generations
Yeah,
of offspring, which also if
do you think that the women could have continued to live among the giants and just continue to allow themselves to be impregnated? I don't, personally, I'm just playing devil's advocate.
I think that they probably died out fairly quickly.
The women?
Yeah.
They probably didn't even come to term, dude.
I mean, probably not very often. But females born from the union, so female Nephilim, which
Right.
were probably rare.
Nephilim.
You're right. Yeah, I can't even. My brain can't even with it. I was trying, but
I know you were trying to think of something.
Nephilites. I was like, oh, what would that be?
Nephilim.
Like Smurfette. Yeah, you can't Nephilim because that's already the plural. So Nephilima. I guess you're right. It's about the best we're gonna get. But if Nimrod is not Nimrod. Yeah, maybe Nimrod. No, who is it? That's 2/3. 2/3.
Yeah, Gilgamesh. Yeah, Nimrod.
Okay,
yeah.
So.
But he was a peculiar case, right? So
the only way that would work would be one of the parents is
right, a Nephilim
and the other one is yes, well, or oh yeah, it would work that way. So that would be a female.
That's the only way it should.
So that would be the female in the Nephilim and then the male Elohim.
Well, maybe. Oof, man. Huh.
We'll give Kelsey that math.
Yeah. Well, now what I'm wondering, what I'm thinking about is maybe they are mules, but only insofar as reproducing with humans. Well, no, that's not true either.
No, I don't think mules. I'm sorry, I disagree.
Either. I'm just playing devil's advocate here because I actually don't believe that. I do not believe that they're mules. I don't. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think I
really don't either. And because I think that people have, they say that almost everybody has Neanderthal DNA. Yeah, it's not Neanderthal.
No, it's Nephilima.
It's Nephilim.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I also think that the gene pool was just eventually diluted so much that it's like, well, we're not really that anymore. You know, we're not. Which comes back to the whole thing, like don't mix with other peoples, right, because you don't know what they have going on in their bloodlines and so on and so forth. And which is why do you remember me telling
that sounds like don't mix with other races, which is not what we're saying.
No, that's not what I'm getting at.
There's only the human race. Don't mix with
don't crossbreed
other beings.
Is what I'm saying. Yeah, don't crossbreed. I'm not saying don't marry another race or procreate with another race. I did that, so
yeah,
sorry.
Me too.
So obviously I don't believe that. But yeah, don't procreate with another race. Don't crossbreed. Another race of completely non-human entities is a better way to say that. It sounds really bad for me to say that. Sorry, guys.
Don't marry non-humans.
It's 2 in the morning. Sorry, guys. Yeah, don't get married to non-humans, animal or otherwise.
Exactly.
Just leave it at that. What was I going to tell you? Oh, which brings me back to a thought. Do you remember when? I know we're going totally rabbit trail here, but I don't really care. This is a fun topic. When Ravi Zacharias says that according to some geneticists, that when
your DNA is changed after
your
salvation.
DNA is changed. I mean, to me, that tells me very likely that any residual stuff that we had going on left over is eradicated.
Right. And that's why I think too that it wipes out generational curses. There, you can still have some strongholds, but I have seen that in my own personal life. So
coming back to that.
I guess that's anecdotal, but
but anecdotal's not nothing.
Right.
I'm going to say that again so we can turn it into a clip. So they say, Ravi Zacharias says that geneticists apparently say that our DNA changes whenever we get saved, and come to the knowledge of Christ and begin to follow Him.
Because you're born again.
Because you're born again, correct. And that would also mean that if you had any residual Nephilimic DNA, it is eradicated, which is super, super cool. I'm going to post this as a clip, and I'm probably going to get a ton of crap for it, and I don't care. It's the way. This is the way. Yeah, man. So that's really interesting, and that brings me to this last point, which I think is really cool. Is about not cool. It's not the word I use. Which I think is fascinating, not cool, but makes a lot of sense. Which is demonic possession. So, because these giants were expelled from their bodies and they seek new bodies, right? They seek any kind of flesh, bone, and blood that they can.
Because they miss what it was like.
Exactly. They want to re-inhabit another portal because they don't have that portal access anymore. They don't have that ability.
That's what makes us even a portal that is. Man, we're more than just a portal, though. We become their. Well, I guess portal. We become their ability to interact in our material world.
It's a real busy. It's a real busy vehicle when they're occupying it, right? And usually it depends on who's occupying it and how many of them are occupying it, right? Because I know it's gross. It is gross, but it makes a whole lot of sense, and they want that portal access again, right?
Absolutely.
That's why if you ever notice, whenever someone is like truly possessed, they say all sorts of like vile sexual things and do all sorts of vile sexual things to themselves and with other people, and all sorts of stuff like that. I mean, it stands to reason that they're angry, bitter, furious. I mean, I can't say I blame them. If I were created against my will and automatically damned just for existing, I'd probably feel the same way, frankly.
Yeah, I imagine I wouldn't be very happy. Are you familiar with the older terms that they would use when people would get married? They would say, "With my body, I thee worship."
Oh yeah. Oh, I thee worship.
Mm-hmm.
I think I have heard that, but not very often.
It's very interesting that older term, or that term was used in older instances. Worship, love, pretty much it's the same thing. But I've always found it fascinating because with our
Worship.
bodies
That's very
we are
cool.
to worship it. Romans, is it 2:1 tells
Hmm.
us to to give our bodies as a living sacrifice, which is a reasonable act of worship. It might be 12:2.
That sounds right. 12:2. I think that's right. I don't think it's chapter 2. Sorry, I was looking up another word when you said the worship. It brought to mind do not conform to the pattern of this. Is that what you're talking about? Do not be conformed to the pattern of this world.
Transformed by the renewing of your mind.
Yeah,
No,
then you will be able to. No, that's not the one, right? I don't think it is. Sorry, I was just thinking about the word betroth, and I was curious about the etymology. And sure enough,
Romans
interestingly enough,
12:1.
it's 12:1. Therefore, I urge you, brothers. Oh yeah, brothers and sisters. in
Present
Christ,
your bodies as a living sacrifice. Yeah. Okay.
living sacrifice. It's a great metal band, by the way. One of the words that it actually comes from is the original, like the common Latin fidare, which literally means to trust. So with my body, to thee do I trust, or in trust is a better way to say it. That's very cool. It's very, very cool. Which tells you, here I'm giving you this ritual instrument. Don't abuse it. Don't misuse it. You know. That's very cool.
I'm trusting. I'm putting my trust in you as I give you myself.
That's very cool. It's very, very cool.
Which is also what we do with God.
Yeah.
You know, I was thinking of one of those mind-altering states.
That's also what he does with us.
I was thinking of trance music, but worship music works the same way.
Yeah.
And we have all been in services where you've just sung the same thing so many times that your brain goes numb.
Yeah.
And it's done to invoke a sense of worship.
Yeah.
The music for God. And I mean, we won't even get into the fact that music opens us up. Oh, come on. Like when you set the mood.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Put on some Barry White. It's not Barry White, but Wham.
It is very sax though.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's very.
I don't have my sax in here. I only have my very sexy. I only have my sax, like the strap to hold my sax.
But
nice try.
It's still a way to induce us to put down our guards.
Yeah.
To become
under the influence.
Yeah, opens us up more to the spirit. So primes the portal.
Primes the portal. Yeah, man, I think so. I mean,
I think whether it's worship or I even think of, like Aboriginal dancing around the fire.
Yeah.
Like it's all mind altering, and it can be done in conjunction with drugs or without.
Sure.
But the state, it's a mind altering state is what the goal is.
Yeah.
And I mean, Bethel Redding has made it a science. They do so much to manipulate the music so that you are in a state to receive.
Ugh. Hey, I almost forgot. We were going to talk about that weird quality that Nephilim have. Why were we going to talk about that? I'm trying to remember. Like, how did that fit into?
Oh, the beheading, the cutting off of the heads of
Yeah.
giants because they could regenerate.
Yeah, but why were we going to talk? I don't remember, like, why we were going to talk about that in conjunction to this.
Man, I don't remember now.
But there was a link.
There is a link,
There's a reason.
but it's also late in the early morning.
It is very early. Less early for me than for you.
True.
It's okay. This is a good talk.
I cannot think of what that link is right now.
Finish it out. So what we're going to mention, guys, is that there apparently is a. So if you've not checked out his book, if you've not watched him or anything, I really recommend going to check out Gary Wayne. He is a phenomenal source of. I mean, he's just a bloody encyclopedia.
Real interesting dude.
He's smart. Just crazy photographic memory, it seems like. But he talks about the reason that David beheaded Goliath, and then a lot of times you would hear about the skull being crushed. The skull crusher makes sense, right? Now it makes even more sense.
The skull's being removed.
So
as well,
apparently, a giant could regenerate. Or at least some of the giants had regenerative qualities in their bodies, so that if they were, knocked down or lost an arm or something, it could regrow in theory, or stuff like that. But if you chopped off the head, then
they couldn't regenerate.
Right. Well, the portal was severed.
Well, and it's interesting too. Golgotha is the mount of the head, the skull. And the legend is because that's where David buried Goliath's head. Apparently, his crushed head.
And it's crazy because I had not thought about this, but I mean, if you guys know anything, if you know anything about anything that has to do with like ancient mythology or just superhuman creatures, which clearly seem to point to the Nephilim.
We'll go with vampires in particular,
or good jazz.
What are you saying? Zombies.
Yeah, we're talking about zombies, about severing the head, right?
Mm-hmm.
You'll know that these creatures are usually almost impervious to damage. I mean, they were just impervious. And so really, when I was thinking about it, probably all David did, and I say all, I mean, that's laughing matter. If you guys have watched, there's a viral clip going around of a dude with a sling. Have you seen that show?
No.
Oh, it's awesome. He's just swinging around, and it's massive. Like he's holding it way up here, and it's going all the way down to his feet as he's standing.
Really?
He's flipping this thing around, doing all sorts of somersaults, and he'll chuck it. He throws the rock, and as the sling leaves the rock, he has like a flat pan, like a flat iron pan, and it just almost perforates the whole thing.
Wow.
Very impressive. And I mean, terrifying. You would die. Like you and I getting hit in the head.
If it had hit our skull, yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, or your heart. It'd probably perforate your heart completely. Yeah, no joke. But for Goliath, it probably just knocked him senseless. Like he probably wasn't.
And I think
die. I don't think right then and there.
No, I think the verbiage that the word says is that it knocked him out. Yeah. And then David went and with
cut off his head.
His own sword cut off his head. Right.
It's crazy. It's freaking crazy, man. So,
but I don't think that the word implies that the stone killed him.
No.
But
doesn't it say it was lodged in his head though?
I don't
remember. I don't remember if it was or not.
Think so.
That seems right. Anyway, nonetheless, there's the reason I wanted to bring that up is one is it's super fascinating,
Right.
which really lends a lot more credence to the 10 of the 12 spies when they were sent out to survey the land, coming back and being like, dude, these guys will crush us.
Well, because they
No
say
laughing
we
matter.
looked like grass, we seemed like grasshoppers in our sight and in theirs. Can you just think of the size of a grasshopper in comparison to you, and now think of you in comparison as a grasshopper to the size that the giant would have been.
Holy cow. Yeah, it's terrifying. It's freaking terrifying.
And I mean, if those grapes were any indication,
right?
I mean, one cluster of grapes, the grapes had to be big enough to feed each family. They probably all got to taste those grapes.
That's crazy, man.
Took 2 people to put it on a pole to carry it between them. I mean, that's the size of a large deer.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what you think. That's what I think of. I think of people going hunting and killing a deer and having, tying it over a stake, and each one grabs it and they haul their kill out.
Yeah. I was gonna mention. Remember, I told you about that anime that I wanted you to remind me about.
Mm-hmm.
So there's an anime that I watched several years ago. It's actually pretty short. It's only 2 seasons long, so it's probably about like 24 episodes or something. It's pretty short. But it's called Ajin, and Jin in Japanese is person, and I think means like absence of person or something like that. I can't remember what the meaning is.
I like millennial.
Yeah, I may be wrong about that. Let me look it up real quick, actually. But I can think and talk at the same time. It's demi-human. That's what it means, like semi-human.
Okay.
So what happens is a very small portion of the human race basically acquires this regenerative quality. Like they can lose a limb and they'll come back to life. They can get run over and their body will just regenerate over a period of time. And obviously, all sorts of stuff. Governments start trying to steal their bodies, steal them away because they can't die, and they'll, mess with them and everything. But one of the things in the show, like one of the main topics of the show is like, if your head gets severed from your body, what regrows in its place? Will it be you, or will it be something else? And will you grow from your head? I mean, it's very weird. It's very, very weird. And it was super interesting. I mean, like if you're ever feeling like, that's a crazy idea, I would recommend going to watch it. It was really, really good anime. And it was really very heavy. It wasn't like a lighthearted one. It was real serious, as you might imagine. But that came to mind, and I just, man, like we've talked about ad nauseum, right? Like culture is permeated by this concept, man. It is just permeated by this concept. So go check out Ajin.
That's crazy.
Isn't that weird?
Crazy is not even the right word. It's just astonishing how prevalent it is.
Yeah, pervasive.
Yeah,
that's exactly right. It's beyond astonishing.
It's crazy.
Man. When I made that comment about it being like ingrained in our DNA, like I really think it is, man. I really do, and I think that there's probably a lot of concepts that are kind of sort of encoded, if nothing else, in a such a deep way that they're hard to even trace, but they probably are residually there. That's what I think. I mean, certainly not a geneticist, much less scientist, right? Or vice versa. Not a scientist, much less a geneticist. Anyway,
there you go.
That's it. That's all I wanted to talk about. But I'm glad we got to give you guys some extra content because You know how I feel. I like getting you guys new content that's super interesting, but dude, we have been really like just flustered this past, what is it, like month and a half, man.
Yeah,
It's been rough.
it's definitely has been a lot of bumps in the road.
Ebb and flow.
Oh, we have what, 2 more
episodes
to do.
Unless we decide to do another Cosmo, then
Right.
You guys heard it first here. So our last 2 episodes are going to be Stargates. We're going to specifically focus on Stargates, and really I think mostly it could be modern, but really we're going to focus for the most part on Stargates, probably in the ancient world, but we can definitely bring up some modern topics. But the last episode of this year, which I'm actually not even sure when we'll drop, will be the Stargates and extraterrestrial paradigm, which will certainly involve the ancient, but most definitely involve the modern.
The modern
the
occurrence
modern
of UAP, UFO, alien encounters, alien abductions, USOs, and whatever other acronym you want to throw at it.
Yeah, no kidding. And for you guys that are behind the paywall, I know that we have not finished Antarctica. We definitely have not forgotten. We have just been.
Oh, no. Yeah, no. We have not forgotten. Antarctica and Atlantis are both on the agenda.
On and under the paywall.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think we will probably get to at the beginning of next year when we have some new content that's already like curated, ready to go, and blasted out. Then Shelley and I will have some time to actually work on actually some of these topics that we've researched at length already. Just they get pushed back. It is what it is.
Yeah.
And oh, dude, and all sorts of new hopefully some interviews on the right. That's gonna be cool, man.
Yeah. So we are excited. Thank you so much for coming along this far on our journey with us.
Dude, you guys
almost a year. So insane. Yeah, such a good community. Like, we're beyond blessed. Absolutely.
It has taken off in these past few months a lot. I mean, we went literally from like 8 to 12 people watching our episodes to on the regular at least 150, 200 people watching our episodes sometimes, which is amazing. It's amazing.
Exciting.
It's very cool. Very, very cool. Anyway,
we definitely we enjoy doing it. We're looking forward to so much more, and we're grateful for the support of our nice small community of people who sometimes you probably just shake your head and chuckle, but I hope we feel like friends to you.
You guys are our friends, and I've really begun to feel something that I really never thought even was possible over the internet, which is just a genuine connection to a lot of you guys. Like a genuine, like I feel like you guys are really part of a close.
Like I really do feel like it's our community.
Yeah. You guys really, really do start to feel more and more like our community and our family. And it blew me away to see the response. Seriously, I'm still like kind of flabbergasted that people from the UK, from Canada, all over the US are like, yeah, dude, I'm from here. It's great to hear you guys. People like
so
you guys
exciting.
Like, tell us, I love your content. Like it's super great.
It's so great.
I don't know how great it is, but we love you guys.
Well, it's great that's what they're saying. I mean, our content, we'll let you decide.
We're working on it, man. We're working on it. Yeah, you guys are the judges, and you like we say, vote with your dollars. Do definitely do that, as long as they have some sort of monetary value for the time being. Right. Or with your pounds, or with your what else we got?
I don't know, but I heard today from our friends who are missionaries in the Middle East that lira is not worth much of anything. It makes the peso look like dollars.
Holy moly! The
Yeah.
lira is that a Lebanese word?
Lebanese, it's
Huh.
the Lebanese
You know what it means?
denomination. No, it's their dollar, their version of the dollar.
I mean, it probably means weight, like everything else does. That's what most
Right.
for their currency. It means weight. Except for the Portuguese, they use the word like, I mean, it would be called the royale, basically, which is kind of interesting. I mean, I guess it is weight in one sense.
Probably a royal standard.
Yeah, there you go.
Probably what it has to do with.
The royal standard.
The royal standard.
All right, kiddos.
On that note,
it's been real good, but it's time to go to bed. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you. The Lord be gracious to you and give you peace. God bless. Shalom, shalom.
Shalom, shalom. Maranatha, guys.
We love you.
Good night.
Thank you for watching this episode of The Christian Theological Dark Web. For questions or comments, please email us at thechristiantheologicaldarkweb@gmail.com. If you'd like to support us, please look for the Patreon link in the description. This has been another production of CTDW Studios. Thank you, and God bless.